Welcome to Book Thoughts, brand lifestyle podcast. We are thoughts for books, and these are our thoughts on books. I'm Emily.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Adriana.
Three sisters stripping down one book at a time. Today, we are interviewing author Jessi Cole Jackson for her debut novel, Ruinous Creatures. We will be asking her all the burning questions you have for an author and discussing her book.
Before we jump in, we do have a content warning. Today's podcast is rated mature. We are book thoughts after all, so we're going to be using adult language and talking about adult topics. So please pay attention to who may be listening near you. Additionally, this episode may include spoilers for Ruinous Creatures. And we just found out it is probably gonna do that.
It's going to include spoilers, but if you haven't read it yet and you still want to just listen to the interview, be sure to check those chapter markers that say spoiler and just skip ahead.
Lastly, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. We might all three, but mainly Emily and I, mispronounce names or places in your book.
I can guarantee I will mispronounce a name or place, and it is nothing against you. It's my reading.
So can I admit something? I usually look at names as like images as opposed to like saying them aloud to myself. So I recently had to go and do a voice recording of myself saying the names of people and places, which meant I had to decide how they were pronounced because I actually didn't know some of them myself. So no judgment if you don't pronounce them right, because there isn't really a right. I mean, I guess there will be once the audio narrators finish everything up.
I absolutely love that because that's the same thing I do. And my kids, when they were learning to read and stuff and names popped up, I'm like, just, it's anything you want it to be. It doesn't have to be right. As long as you know it belongs to that character, you're good.
I'm pretty sure her son in Harry Potter pronounces Hagrid. It was like
he says Haggerty instead of Hagrid, and he's watched the movies. I'm like, dude, I know you know how to pronounce this, but it's such a different world when you actually read the book that in his mind, that's Haggerty now.
What is a quick synopsis or summary that you tell someone who is maybe looking at reading Ruinous Creatures?
So I am really bad at doing like the quick pitch, but I was thinking about it this morning. I like wrote out a little version of it. It's slightly different than like the one I typically do, but I will read it to you. Ruinous Creatures is an adult insta-lust romantasy where two horny strangers are accidentally permanently matched through a pair of bonded phoenix skulls that they can use to wield rare magic. This totally fucks up one's plans for securing her community's safety and the other's path to vengeance. Normally, it doesn't include an S-bomb, but since we started with the mature rating warning, I figured I could include that here.
Yes, yeah.
You're more than welcome.
You absolutely can.
She's our main offender over there, Jenna. Definitely. We jokingly say we're gonna get you a swear jar, but we all say things. So
Okay.
what inspired you with this idea? Because I love that it's such a unique take on magic systems in general. So I don't think I've read anything like it. So where did you get this idea?
So it was a combination of things. I think the very first like two things were visual images. So I was on Pinterest, probably looking for some visual references for another product. And I found these really cool illustrations of people wearing like, I think the first one I saw was someone wearing a unicorn mask or a unicorn skull like a mask. And I just thought that was so compelling. I liked the like macabre and lushness of it, that combination. And then I also saw it was like a high fashion photo shoot that had these really gorgeous Baroque sort of inspired dresses and gowns and suits and things. And I actually went and looked it up. And of course, right now I can't remember what the shoot was, but in my memory, there were unicorns in the back of it. They're actually horses, really beautiful horses that were part of the photo shoot. But in my head, I turned those into unicorns. And so from there, I was like, what kind of world would this be that had these like beautiful clothes and richness and also these like skulls of these creatures that are being worn, and what would people do with those, and how would they get the magic from these magical creatures and like use it themselves, and who would use that.
I read
That
somewhere, I think that you did, like, costume design or helped with costumes. So
Mhm.
was it at, like, a shoot while you were in that job, or
No, it was one I came across, I wanna say it was on Twitter back in the days when Twitter was a thing. So no, it was like a magazine high fashion
okay.
shoe.
that is so unique to any other author that we've asked that question to, so I immensely enjoy that that was your inspiration.
Yeah.
It's just looking at pictures and being inspired by other art is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, like the pronunciation thing, right? Like I'm very visual, which I guess is kind of funny. I mean, I think a lot of writers are, but that's sort of where I come into story is through visual art.
Are you the type of writer who you envisioned, like, point A, maybe M, and then Z, and then wrote the in between? Or did you go from point A to Z and did it chronologically? How was the writing process for you?
I definitely write my shitty first drafts chronologically, and I edit chronologically. But I move stuff around a lot. So like my shitty first draft, which I often call a zero draft, and my first draft, which is a version I will actually allow anybody besides myself to read. There's a lot of moving of scenes and things like that in between. I do have big moments that are later in the books that I want to use. So there's a I guess we can talk about spoilers. So there's a crypt really late in the book. That was another visual reference that I saw. I knew that I wanted that like way towards the end of the book. So I had that in mind as I was writing, but I didn't actually write that scene until I got to it.
You keep saying you're a visual writer. You can tell that in your writing because we were talking about on the way here how it's very rare that these fantasy creatures that you read about in a lot of different fantasy series are spoken about with such detail,
Yeah,
like
you
so much detail.
described them so well, and it helped me envision them in not the My Little Pony unicorn way. Like that because if somebody says unicorn, I've watched My Little Pony. I have
She
children.
mentions it every
I
episode.
do. I
Don't
love
let her
it.
fool you.
I will dive into My Little Pony theories. But anyway, that's just how my mind goes to that fantasy unicorn with rainbow hair. And the way I love because they're not.
Yeah.
They're like crazy cool creatures that are dangerous and impale people with their horns. Like why else would it have a horn? So I
I
enjoyed
will
that.
admit though, I do call the villain lady, whose name is escaping me, I call her Sparkles because she has the unicorn with the jewels on it, and I Sparkles is not a good villain name, like, that's probably the opposite of what you want your readers to probably nickname her, but for my mind, Sparkles worked. I was like, "Dude, Sparkles is a
I
bitch right now,"
I
like
I love that because I think that would piss her off so much.
Yes!
It
So that
would.
makes
She's like,
me
I'm the leader of the
that ma
huntress.
Yeah.
yes, that makes me so happy.
Good.
I wanted to ask how you got to the point where you decided you wanted to pursue being an author because I know you have had a journey.
So basically, like you guys brought up, I did theater for a really long time. I had a professional theatrical costuming career for maybe 10 to 12 years. I worked at some of the best theaters in the country. I worked with some really amazing designers and directors and performers, and I felt kind of stifled. So I was primarily an artisan. So I was the one who was like building costumes for the most part. My specialty was like the weird stuff. So like hats and distressing, making things look old. I was a painter dyer. So if you needed something to be a different color, I was the one who did that. And I loved all of it. I actually really miss working with my hands. But I also really I wanted to tell my own stories, and I often felt a little bit like a cog in telling other people's stories. And I just felt like I had things I wanted to explore, and truths that I wanted to tell, and characters I wanted to create, and worlds I want. And inclusive worlds I wanted to create. I felt like a lot of times the directors I was working with weren't like pushing things as far as I wanted them to, especially when we were doing, like Shakespeare and other like classics that like you really can like push way outside the box. And that wasn't true of all of them, right? And there's a big balance between like the commercial side of things and the art side of things. And like I really love the blending of the two. I wanted to explore a little bit more, and writing was always the thing that really terrified me, I think because it was the thing I really, really wanted. So I make a joke that I really wanted to write. I was too afraid, and so I went into my backup career with theater. I would not recommend if you're going to do a backup career, do something like accounting or something that's much more practical and lucrative. But yeah, eventually I wanted to tell stories bad enough and got brave enough that I started writing.
And so when did you take that step to put your art out there to say, that I think this is great, maybe other people will enjoy this journey too?"
I wrote towards publication for probably, again, 10 to 12 years before actually selling a book. I did do some short stories and stuff like that that you can find in various places on the internet. But yeah, I Ruinous Creatures is obviously my debut, but I started seeking an agent maybe 7 or 8 years before that sold. I I did the query process 3 times before, getting multiple offers and choosing my agent, who's amazing. We went on sub 4 or 5 times with, I'll say, failed submissions, books that didn't sell, which I'm grateful for now because I really love that Ruinous Creatures is my debut.
And one question that we like to ask almost every single author is, what would you say to the person that is thinking of publishing that book or putting their art out there for the world on display? What advice would you give them?
Well, I guess first of all, I would say you can create art without putting it out there, right? There's real value in just making things to make things because you want to and you want to explore and enjoy it and stuff like that. It's talked about a lot, but there is a lot of like feeling like you have to like monetize your hobbies. And so, like, if you don't want to, if you want to just to write for yourself, more power to you. But if you are somebody who really wants to publish, I'd say be brave. It comes with a lot. You have to be vulnerable, and that can be really scary and it can be really hard. There's a lot of rejection. And when you're vulnerable, rejection hurts, I think, extra. But still, I think it comes down to being brave and have
Yeah.
some grit. It's going to take a while, probably, unless you're one of the few who like signs with their first book. But
Yeah, nails
those
it
are
the
rare.
first go around.
Yeah. More power to you.
Okay, now we'll get to, like, more book-specific questions.
Would you rather be a keeper or a priest or priestess in your fantasy world that you created?
I think this goes back and forth for me. I think there are pluses and minuses to both. Today, because it's 12 degrees in Michigan, I would want to be a priestess. Sure, I do not want to go out in the cold to do chores. Please keep me
No.
inside where someone else is like cooking for me and cleaning, and all the novitiates are doing all of the hard work. But yeah, in general, I'm not sure. Like I do love the valley and sort of the earthiness of being out in nature and all of that. But I'm also a little bougie, so so probably I'd stick with Priestess. And they're the ones who actually get to like wield the magic, right? Which I mean that would be pretty cool. But hopefully I would be good and not like an evil priestess who just wants
Yeah.
a whole lot of power. Hopefully
Yeah.
I'd be trying to do some good in the world too.
Your unadorned jackalope mask.
Yes, exactly.
She was one of my favorite, like, silent characters, honestly, because she proved that there was still
Yes.
good in that world, it just wasn't the prominent thing to do.
Yes, I really love her as well. There was some talk of cutting her as a character at one point, and I was like, nope, she's staying. I really wanted to show that even in like corrupt systems, there are good people, especially because, with the priestess stuff, I especially wanted to show that in regards to faith, because I think that's really important. There's corrupt people in faith systems, religious organizations, and there's good people too.
And that is important. There's good, evil, and then there's all the gray. I was just about to say, my mom actually asked me the other day if I lived on a farm, what she thought my job would be. Because she's like, if the family got a farm together, what would you want to be in charge of? I was like, I love the idea of vacationing on a farm, but like permanent living on a farm. I love animals, but I'm kind of like you. I'm a little bougie. I need to go to my coffee shop. Like, how far away is the nearest coffee shop? And the city and everything like that. So realistically, mom, in this farm, I'm selling my share to live in the city.
I was gonna say, I desperately want to be one of those people that is like taking care of the animals and being a keeper and in that like little secluded area. But at the same time, I know I'm gonna want a sussy, which is
Yeah.
what
Oh,
our family calls like a snack.
yes.
And the keepers can't have those
Yes.
unless the smugglers come. So,
Well, and it says very early in the book, she says that this feast is like the best time of year for the food, like the one time that the food is the best. No, I need options. I need more times than one time a year. That's not gonna work for me.
takeout is a once a week thing.
Yeah.
It's not a once a year thing. Probably gonna have to be like a priestess. Maybe I tend the garden as a priestess.
There you
Maybe that's what I do.
go.
So I'm like kind of connected with nature and also serving the population in a good, healthy way.
I was gonna say, or you could be maybe Cecilia in the keeper world. So like
Yes.
you're in the keeper world, but you're like in the library.
Yes.
That would be
Okay.
me.
Yeah. I like that.
Just
With
drinking tea.
all my tea everywhere. That is me. You can ask Emily. She's been to my house. She knows how much tea I have stocked at all times. So
And she had 5 drinks this morning. 5 options of drinks, not 5
Actual
Wow.
beverages.
actual beverages.
That's
wasn't my
beyond
fault.
the beverage goblin. Yeah, beverage goblin to the extreme.
I brought 3 with me, and then we went out, and I got 2 more on accident. It
An
was
accident.
totally
Okay, wait. Accident is a stretch because she purchased them. So is that an
Yeah.
accident?
I
if you
hate
were-
when I accidentally buy things.
Yeah. I told you I like my sussies, okay?
I'm a little
you were-
jealous. I only have 2 drinks with me right now.
If you were a priest or a priestess, do you have a creature in mind that you wrote that you're like, I think I would match with
Whoa.
this skull? Because I mean, from the very get-go, if I was the main character in this book, there would have been no book. Because if you're telling me that I would have worked for 17 years in a place where these skulls are talking to me and that they could give me power, day 1 on the job, I'm trying one on. Like, not making it far, but I'm a very curious individual. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious if there's like one mask in your mind that you're like, I think I would pair best with this, or this is the one that I'd want to pair with.
I should know the answer to this.
No, you're good. I mean, you wrote all of them, so there might be things in a little bit of each of them that you're like,
Yeah.
I wrote this way because I like it this way.
Create your own mythical creature.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, just in terms of like the visual thing, because I'm so visual, probably want the unicorn just because I like the look of it. What about you guys? You have ones you would want?
I was just gonna say dragon, but
I know.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna choose dragon.
Yeah.
I like dragons. So, and I like also when the dragons are written this way that they're, fierce creatures, because Puff the Magic Dragon is not who I picture when I picture a
No.
dragon. It's the fierce creatures that you wrote. So I'm going to have to go with dragon.
I am also, I'm either, I want an alicorn. Okay, I want the alicorn. I love alicorns.
Yeah.
The best of the ponies mixed together. I love it. I need the alicorn.
Yeah, you'll just have to wait for it to grow up and die.
Yeah.
How morbid is that? Like,
Every
I
day you
need
have
your
like a tally.
I need your skull, Tani. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's kind of the basis of it all, right?
Yeah, I mean,
They
it
have
really
to die.
is. And
Yeah.
and you kind of like, what do the keepers for me and how I read it is like the keepers, how do they really feel about it? Because you're not going to ever be the person that has that magic. You're here to care for the creatures. But even in like that first town meeting, the one guy that's just a jerk is like, well, something about killing the animals. And the one lady's like, don't you ever say that again. That's not why we're here. We're here to take care
Hmm.
of them. So it's like, on one hand, if the animals die and you can use the skulls for the magic, you get more money that feeds into your village and people are going to take better
Hmm.
care of you. But on the other hand, you're building these, I would think you're building these connections with these mystical, magical creatures. Like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't want them to ever die, but I even name my cars. So the connection I feel like I'd have with these animals, I don't, that'd be so hard.
I just saw a meme that was like, I knew life was gonna be hard when I felt sorry for inanimate objects when I was younger. And I can literally remember apologizing to my stuffed animals when I would go on vacation because I wasn't taking them with me. Being a keeper would be agonizing, and I love that you let that show in her dad
Mhm.
so much that his job was to care for the animals, and he felt each and every death so deeply. And I think it's a very good lesson about real life because there's gonna be it really is. You are a keeper in real life. You're nurturing these things around you, and at, um, the cycle of life is that they end. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a very good parallel.
Well, and they end, but like still have something to contribute, right? Like
Yeah.
the ones that stay want to.
Did you have a favorite moment that you wrote, or just one that pops up into your brain that after you wrote it, you're like, "Dang, that was good," or "I love that this character did this"?
I have a lot of them that I wrote in this book. I really embraced all of the like weird stuff. I really enjoy all of the like handy, like brain scratching joy of what I love to read, to think about all of that. I really like the garden scene inside the city. I love the juxtaposition of like this poverty surrounded by lush, or the poverty surrounding the lushness. And I love Adela's anger and that she like lets that out. There are a lot of scenes I really love. That's the first one that's like coming to mind.
Are there any things about yourself that you put into the characters, or maybe not even things about yourself, but that you would like to see your braveness develop this way, or something like that that you wrote into your characters because you're like, this is who I aspire to be like?
Absolutely. Writing friends and I talk about this all the time. I think a lot of stories are us like working through things, right? A lot of times not consciously at all. We're just processing through our storytelling. And I definitely see a lot of Adela's journey as a journey that I'm still going on towards self-acceptance, particularly like accepting the parts of myself that I don't like very much, like that shadow work that people talk about. And I will say, Adela and I are not the same, right? There's pieces of me in all my characters, and none of my characters are me. But I think that's one of the things that I really was specifically intentional about is examining like how do you accept yourself as who you are, particularly the hard things, the things you don't like.
Is that the message that you hope people get from the book? Or is there a message you hope people get from the book? Or are you just like, you know what, take it, just read it, enjoy the story?
Yeah, no, I definitely, I mean, I think I said this earlier, right? When we were talking about theater and when I started writing, like there are definitely truths that I want to tell in my stories. Truths for me, they're not necessarily what everybody else would agree with. I mean, I think I want people to get out of the book what they need to get out of the book. I mean, I hope that's entertainment and fun and, I want them to think it's hot.
Yeah.
And all of those things. But like in terms of themes and stuff, I hope they find in the book what they need to find. But I think the big thing, like if I could like put into everyone's brain one thing, it would probably be that like find the hope in the darkness, right? Like that's sort of what the dedication of the book is about. Like if you're facing ruin, walking through ruin, like I hope you find the like flickering flame of hope.
Yes. Everybody needs that.
Me too. I mean, right. That's
Yeah.
why that's that whole like you write through your processing.
Do you have like a writing ritual that do you like, okay, I'm gonna wake up at 7 a.m. I'm gonna have my coffee, I'm gonna do this because you
And a
mentioned
specific snack.
yeah, you mentioned that you love coffee and you love
Yeah.
bakeries, so I'm curious, like, do you need those two things in order to get writing for the day?
No, I do not need those things. I have a 6-year-old and a 15-month-old. So
Oh,
that
goodness.
would I wish I could meet those things. I used to be part of the 5 a.m. Writers Club. I loved writing really early in the morning when the world was still quiet and my brain was like half asleep. If I could choose anything, it would be to write again that early in the morning. But I can't get myself up that early anymore. Um,
That's fair.
especially with children who do not like to sleep.
I always felt like with mine, if I planned to get up early to give myself me time, that they would wake up at that me time.
Yeah.
And
It's
no,
like they
no
know.
matter what, they have this
Yes,
sense.
yes, constantly. I will say, so on Mondays and Fridays, I take my daughter into school, my 6-year-old into school, and I will often go to one of my favorite places in the world, definitely my favorite coffee shop, which is called Starling. If you're on my Instagram, you will have seen it a million times everywhere. And there I typically get coffee, sometimes a pastry. Those are definitely my favorite writing days, is when I can go to a little coffee shop and or bakery. There's another one that I love that's a little bit further away called Dollop Shop. It's in Toledo.
Like, when you're about to write your spicy scenes, are you still doing that at the coffee shop, or is that only at home, or do you
No,
care?
do not care. I will write them wherever. I will
Yeah.
probably blush through them if I'm out in
Yep.
public, but yeah, nope, I've written them everywhere and anywhere.
Is
Uh,
there anyone that you're like, because there's spicy scenes in it, you're like, "Okay, don't read this book," or "I don't recommend you read this book," or are you kinda like, "You know what? This is a part of life, so you're just gonna get through it."
no, anyone who knows me, I hope they do not read the book. I hope they buy it, like buy many copies and don't read any of them.
That's probably the most true answer.
Yeah, honestly. We
Yeah.
interviewed an author one time who she after her I think you actually I saw it in your Instagram post, you got it when you were visiting, the publisher. It's Fairy
Oh,
Oh
Veronica
yes.
yeah.
Lancet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Uh-huh.
interviewed her, and she was saying that she had just gone to, like, when her book released or a book released, a 10-year reunion for
Oh
school,
no.
and they were all like, we didn't know that, like, you had this side to you." And she's like, "Oh god, please don't even, like, I don't wanna talk about it."
I have a day job, and my supervisor, when I first sold the book, was so proud of me, just immensely proud of me. And we were on a call with all of the executives, and she told them that I sold the book. And then they're asking me about the book, right? And I was like, no, you please don't read it.
You're
Yeah.
like, we got to separate these two things.
They're
Yeah.
still like asking me, and like everyone's so lovely, but I'm just like, I just please don't read.
Yeah, I also have a day job, and when we first announced doing this podcast almost a year ago, I posted on my personal, but I didn't mean to, and my
Mhm.
boss is friends with me on Facebook, and he's like, "Oh, you're starting a podcast. That's really cool." And I was like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." Like, because we're called Book Thoughts. We talk about all the book
Oh, yeah.
stuff, and we talk about a lot of books that have those spicy scenes in them, and I was,
Yeah.
you don't need to listen to it. You're not gonna like it."
It's not. It's not for you.
Yes. Yeah, I hope everybody reads it and loves it except anybody who knows me personally.
Now, with being a visual person, when you're writing your characters, do you picture actors or actresses that you already know to be the characters, or are they
Ooh.
entirely new?
Yeah, I don't really picture actors or actresses. I mean, a lot of times they're like illustrations that, again, I
Yeah.
found on Pinterest and things like that. And that's sort of who I picture.
To that same effect, though, do you ever picture like a soundtrack or a song in a specific scene, like imagine it that far?
So, didn't for this book, I do have a song that I sort of associate with this, but it was more like after the fact. It wasn't during. A lot of times when I write, I will put on, there's a composer, I think her name is Rachel Portman, and she does a lot of soundtracks for a lot of different sort of romantic movies. And I really love her music or her compositions, so I'll put her on.
Do you have a favorite line that you wrote or one that stands out to you?
Yeah, so I do have a favorite line, and it's very funny because you won't know it because I accidentally edited it out at one point, and so it's not in the arc.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I didn't realize it until second pass pages that it wasn't in there anymore. And I was looking for it because I wanted to pull it for something, and I couldn't remember what was around it. And I realized at some point I had edited it out when I was doing like a big pass. It's in there again now, but it won't be in
Okay.
the arc that you've read. And it's really simple. It's just I am a ruinous creature.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm
Simple
glad
but
you added that
perfect.
back in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, me too. Talking
Feels
to
needed.
my editor and agent, and I was like, I, I missed this, and they were like, "Oh God, put it back in." And I was
Put
like,
it
I
back.
feel like that's like the theme of the book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't
And
miss on that
It's on
one.
the cover.
Yeah.
I am a ruinous creature.
You know when they get all excited because they finally said the line in the book or whatever,
Yeah.
or the
The
title,
title
and
of the
that's
movie
exactly
or
like the perfect connection.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part when people do that. I just
They
like,
said
yes,
Yeah.
they said it.
Me too. Don't edit that part out unless you have time to add it back in.
I was just gonna say my favorite line, it's more of a paragraph, but chapter 21, and it just says, "Unfortunately, that is a real possibility. I believe we've lost much more than we've retained. But isn't that true of all histories? That is a question for tomorrow after we've rested and the sun comes up to illustrate what we can learn from the ashes, if anything." And I really liked that line because it's so true of even today, I would
Yeah.
say, especially today. It's just we're always constantly trying to learn from the history, and we just lose so much over time.
Hmm.
But also at the same time, you can only do so much in one day. So you need to get your rest, wake up tomorrow, and rebuild from the ashes. So I
Yeah.
just really enjoyed that line.
That has so
Thank
much weight
you.
to it in
Yeah.
so many ways. It's beautiful.
And I will say, this is since it's an advanced copy, it's obviously not on Kindle. I haven't read and held a book in a long time. And cuz like I'm kind of someone that buys the book trophies. Like I like to
Hmm.
have the physical copy after I've read the Kindle copy, so I'm
Hmm.
spending double the money to enjoy my hobby, but it is what it is. And so I was like, how do because we always like to go over our favorite lines, and I was like, how do I highlight this? I don't want to I don't want to actually write in the book. So I had to do it on my phone notes.
I have a confession. While I was reading, I touched the page to get it to
No.
turn like you do on the Kindle. I went, oh shit.
I've done that when I'm like trying to look up a word. Like I will highlight the word so that like if I can read it in the sentence and kind of get context clues, like okay, I'll move along. And then at the end of the chapter, if I'm still like a little unsure, I'll look up the definition, whatever I need to like make it official. And I will sit there with my finger and like try and highlight. It's embarrassing.
That
That's
delights me
relatable.
to no end.
Especially when you're reading late at night and you're like, wait, nobody saw that, right?
Well, I was like, I kind of forgot that when you read a real book, you gotta read with a lamp on.
I
Oh, yeah.
had
There's
to
no
go
dark
find
setting.
my book light that was buried in the recesses of my closet. Like,
Yeah.
So spoiled. We sound like brats right now. Like, oh God, we had to hold it. My arthritis kicked in.
Well, there is digital art, you know?
We just decided
I
the old-fashioned way
Yeah,
was
my
the best way.
preference is the physical copy, and then
Oh,
having the
okay.
lamp behind you with the chair that you're
Mhm.
sitting in,
Yeah,
perfect cozy blanket. And
yeah.
I will destroy a book if I have the opportunity to, because I like to underline things. I like to
Mhm.
tab and like keep track
Yeah.
of
Oh,
it. But
yeah.
it's usually not always on a first read for me, or at
Mhm.
least through the first like couple chapters, because you kind of want to get a feel for it, kind of see. Especially if you're gonna turn around and share that book with somebody, then I feel like, oh my God, they're looking into my soul of what I've highlighted.
I think we talked about that, like, with Between Pages and Friends, how we were like, recommending books is such a vulnerable thing
It
because you're
is.
like, I
Mhm.
think you'd like I liked it. Will
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
like it?
Yeah, recommending books, you're telling on yourself twice, right? You're both
Yes.
Yeah.
telling on yourself of what you like, and you're telling on yourself of what you think that person will like.
Exactly.
Yes.
And sometimes you're wrong.
Yeah. That's just true.
I loved that this was a standalone and how you created and finished the world. I felt like it was wrapped up so nicely with a bow tied on top. It
Mhm.
was just a very good read for me. But I will say I am interested if there's any branches coming off of this one. I would also read those stories, and I just wanted to know if that is in the works or if you're allowed to say, want to say
Yeah, tell us
if
what's to
that's in the
come.
works.
Yes. So, nothing's official. Nothing has been sold or anything yet. I actually had kind of, it's a very like first world problem that I sold Ruinous Creatures on proposal, which so like with a partial like the first third of the book and then a very detailed synopsis, which is unusual for a debut, and it ended up being a really hard process to finish writing it under the pressure of a deadline. And so for my next book, I've decided to write the full before we go out with it and try to sell it. So it hasn't sold yet. No one's seen it. My agent's seen a little bit of it, but otherwise, no one's seen it. But it is, in fact, set in the world of ruinous creatures, but it's like 50 to 100 years in the future. It sort of expands on the world. So it doesn't take place in the city at all. There's a little part of it that takes place in the valley. There are a lot of new creatures. And then they leave the valley to go to a different part of the world entirely, where there are even more new creatures. The magic is used slightly differently. That one is, I'm really excited. It's a academic rivals second chance romance. There's a stuffy natural scientist and a chaotic folklorist who have to work together to discover like a or figure out the details of a great migration mystery.
So cool. I mean, if you need beta readers,
Yeah,
just
sign us up.
reach out at any point. I would love to dive into any world you create again.
Oh,
I loved
thank
it.
you. Yeah, I'm really excited about this story, and I hope it gets to see the light of day someday.
And in regards to Ruinous Creatures, remind everyone again, when is the official release date and where can people keep up with you best and all those good, because I'll put all the links in the bio of this podcast.
So it is out March 10th. Probably the best place to find me is on Instagram at Jessi Cole Jackson. I also have a website, jessicolejackson.com. I am not the best at updating it, but it is on my list of growth areas.
You can find it, I assume, in any, Barnes& and Noble, Kindle, all the
Yep,
good
where
stuff.
yeah, so wherever you love to buy your books, you should be able to find it there. It'll be a hardcover, obviously, Kindle, and there's also an audiobook. And they should all release at the on the 10th.
Well,
Awesome. Yes,
congratulations. It's been
congrats.
Thank
a
you.
wonderful ride.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you guys for having me. This was really lovely. You were my first podcast ever.
That's exciting.
Yay!
Thank
You were
you.
our first pre-release book.
Yes.
Yes.
We have
Uh,
never received one.
Yeah.
So
oh, I love that. Yay, us.
Now let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode, and thanks again, Jessi, for joining us. Next episode, we will be kicking off our next strip down. which is a surprise at this moment, but we will have already posted about it when this episode comes out. So be sure to follow us on all of our socials. Tune in every Tuesday on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts for a new episode of
Book Thoughts!